stopped midair, staring blankly at my transparent fingers. I looked back at the tightly shut storage room door. Dim light leaked from beneath the crack. I floated over and passed through the door panel, seeing myself curled up among the clutter. I was already dead. What came before Stella's countdown hit 0 was actually my death. Memories rushed in like a tide, carrying the smell of old dust. When I was younger, maybe 5 or 6 years old, I really did hate Stella. If there was only one piece of candy in the house, it was Stella's. The only apple got cut in half. The bigger piece for Stella, the smaller for me. New clothes always went to Stella first. I wore her hand-me-downs. Even bedtime stories were Stella's. Mom's voice was so gentle. She would read The Little Prince, read Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales, read those stories about stars and moons, but she only read those stories to Stella. I would secretly crouch by the door crack, listening to Mom say softly, "Stella, what would you like to hear today?" "I want to hear The Little Mermaid," Stella said. So Mom would begin reading, her voice like a stream at night, flowing slowly. I squatted outside the door, hugging my knees, listening to those beautiful sentences, my heart feeling squeezed by something. Why couldn't she read to me too? The summer I turned 7, Mom roasted a chicken. 2 golden glistening drumsticks sat on top. At dinner, Mom carefully placed both drumsticks in Stella's bowl. "Stella, eat more. Build up your strength." I looked at the few green vegetables in my own bowl. Tears suddenly fell. Why does Stella get both drumsticks? I want to eat them too. I want chicken drumsticks too. Dad's chopsticks slammed heavily on the table. "Ivy, how can you be so inconsiderate?" He stood up, his face dark with anger. "Don't you know Stella's health is poor? Don't you know that Stella—" He couldn't continue. I didn't know. I only knew that Stella's complexion was always very pale, that she sometimes coughed, that Mom and Dad always looked at her with that sad expression. But I didn't know what that meant. Why does everything belong to Stella?" I cried out, jumping down from my chair and pointing at Stella sitting across from me. "Why don't you just die? Give my things back to me." Stella's tears instantly fell, big drops splashing into her bowl. She opened her mouth but couldn't make a sound. Mom shot up and slapped me across the face. That was the first time I'd been hit so hard. Stella lunged forward to protect me, but Mom held her back tightly. "Let her learn her lesson. Let her know what she can and can't say." The next day I overheard Mom and Dad talking in the kitchen. 9 more years left. Mom's voice was crying. I know. Dad's voice was hoarse. 9 years. Just 9 years. That's when I learned that Stella really would die. That the numbers above her head that no one else could see were her life countdown. In the living room, Mom and Dad, eyes red, carefully sent Stella back to her room. I watched, my heart suddenly aching. "Should we let Ivy out?" Dad's voice was soft. Mom was silent for a long time. "Let her endure it a bit longer." Mom finally spoke, her voice so exhausted it seemed to take all her strength. "At least, let Stella spend this birthday peacefully. Just this one day. The last day." I saw Mom raise her hand to wipe her eyes. "Ivy will understand." She seemed to be convincing herself. "After Stella's gone, we'll definitely make it up to her." Dad said nothing more, just walked to the kitchen, took a small piece of bread from the cupboard, and walked toward me. "Ivy," he said softly to the door. "Dad brought you some bread. Eat something. Don't go hungry." I floated in front of him and crouched down to look at him. His eyes were very red, the wrinkles at the corners deeper than last year, white hair already showing at his temples. He was only 40 this year, but looked like he was 50. "Dad, I'm right here. I died. Won't you come in and look at me?" "Ivy?" He called again. I reached out to touch his face. My fingers passed through his body. Sigh. Dad sighed and stood up disappointedly. This child, still sulking. He pushed the bread further through the door crack. "Just stay in there and behave. Don't make trouble. After your sister is gone, Dad will definitely make it up to you." I didn't wait for him to discover me. I looked at his retreating back and said softly, "You don't need to, Dad. You don't need to make it up to me. You'll never have the chance." After Dad left, the hallway fell silent again. Soft sounds came from the living room. Mom came out of Stella's room, gently closed the door, and stood in the hallway in a daze. She looked at the storage room door, her lips pressed tightly together, as if struggling with. Finally, she walked over and crouched where Dad had just crouched. "Ivy," her voice was soft. "Don't blame Mom, okay? Mom knows you feel wronged." She continued,